Good afternoon, Guardians, and welcome to episode 9 of This Week in Destiny, which is a weekly Destiny news program airing every Tuesday covering the latest game updates, announcements, community content, and more. We've got a lot to cover today, so we're going to dive right in, but first, a few words on this episode's sponsor. This episode is of course brought to you in part by DestinyGhostHunter.net, which is an awesome website that lets you enter your Xbox Live gamertag or PSN ID, and it will make a list of all the ghosts in the game and which ones you haven't gotten yet. When you click on a ghost on the list, it'll tell you its location and also show a short YouTube video telling you how to get to it. Super helpful to keep track of which ghost you still need to get. This week's weekly strike is the Nexus on Venus. The heroic modifiers are Heroic and Juggler, and the Nightfall modifiers are Epic, Nightfall, Voidburn, Juggler, and Angry. Now usually at this point I would put an annotation on the screen showing you how to get this week's Nightfall guide, but I recently found out that only 49% of the people watching this series are actually on a desktop computer. So I'm going to be experimenting with YouTube's new card feature instead of annotations. They're smaller and not as customizable, but they work on mobile. You can try it yourself by clicking the link at the top right of the screen, which will bring you to my hard mode Crota's End raid guide. Oh, and here's a guide for this week's Nightfall by our German friend fanart. In their most recent weekly update, Bungie spoke a bit more about the features that we can expect to launch with patch 1.1.2. They have reconfirmed that this is the pre-House of Wolves patch, which will get the game ready for the expansion when it releases. There's still no official launch date announced for the expansion, but Bungie has stated that patch 1.1.2 will be out within the next few weeks. One would assume that the expansion might follow fairly soon after. Bungie spent the rest of the update going over the increased vault space which will be available with the next patch. Specifically, here's what you can expect to see with 1.1.2. You will be able to store 24 pieces of armor, up from 20, you'll be able to store 36 weapons, up from 20, and you'll be able to store 24 general items, up from 20. Also in the next patch, PlayStation 4 players will receive Suspend and Resume functionality for Destiny, which will allow you to interact with and use other apps without closing the game. This feature was actually already downloaded onto your console on March 26th, but won't become available until the patch is out. In other Bungie news, senior gameplay designer Josh Hamrick has left the company and joined Bethesda Studios. I'm not really sure at this point what kind of impacts this could have on Destiny, as I imagine most of the heavy lifting game designing has already been done. However, it could mean that if you're a fan of Destiny's gameplay, then you might want to check out Bethesda's next release, which is hopefully Fallout 7, or whatever version they're on. And now is about the time that we round up with the Community Spotlight. Bit shorter of an episode this week, not a terrible amount of news going on, and I'd rather keep it brief and talk about the important stuff than dig for some nonsense that you guys don't care about. Make sure to stay tuned until the end of the video though, because I've got somewhat of an announcement regarding the next few weeks. First up is this cool Reddit post with links to a bunch of different sounds from the game. There's a lot of people to credit for this coming about, and Advex Speckle, who posted it, even wrote down a short thank you list at the top of his post. Bonus thanks to Bonus Jonas for most of the links though. The original inspiration was someone asking for the exotic drop soundbite to use for a ringtone, though I'm not sure when else you would use any of these unless you make YouTube videos. Even then, I'm afraid if I include any in this video it'll get flagged by Activision, unless there's a sound playing over it to obfuscate it. Let's give it a go. La 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 la. That was pretty fun. Something else cool that happened this week was a new raid strategy for defeating Crota using only your feet. So this video was posted of a guy playing Destiny with his brother who has cerebral palsy, and they managed to down Crota, which is pretty impressive. You can click the link in the top right to check it out, but I'll warn you now, they seem to really be taking advantage of the burst of views while it lasts. Within the first 30 seconds of the video, there's 4 annotations directing you to like and subscribe and check out other videos or donate. I know that bothers a lot of people, so I figured I'd mention it. Still a pretty cool accomplishment. And last, but certainly not least, probably my favorite fan art of all time for Destiny. This guy took the time to create an artistic rendering of Crota, son of Oryx. Bam! I think it's gorgeous, and apparently so does Reddit, since it's now been incorporated into the banner of the Destiny subreddit. So that's all for this week, but I wanted to take a quick moment to mention that I, your host, will be moving across the country over the next couple weeks. Because of this, there's a lot of uncertainty regarding the next couple episodes. I'm sure there's only like a few of you out there who would be concerned about this, but I just wanted to say it so that people aren't confused about why an episode might not be released. April 14th, there will almost certainly not be an episode out. As for next week on April 7th, it's up in the air. I might be able to record it from a hotel room, we'll see. Also, since people have been asking, I post these episodes to Reddit each week on Wednesdays, so you could probably find it there. The Reddit community has been super awesome and super supportive so far, which I'm really thankful for. And in the future, if you want to keep up to date with episode updates and whatnot, then make sure to follow @RaidLeaderTV on Twitter. Also, if you missed last week's episode, you can check it out right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you possibly next Tuesday on Raid Leader TV.